early arriving crowd. Gives us a little bigger audience to give our analysis to.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good card, real competitive races, and I'm glad a lot of people are showing up today.
Yeah. The racing has gotten very competitive. I like this time of the meet because Oaklawn's over. We're past the Triple Crown. That doesn't affect us, but we also have this influx of New Mexico horses and horsemen that maybe because Ruidoso isn't running thoroughbreds this summer because of the devastating flood damage they had last year. But, the Finchers, the Mars, Capelucci's been here for a while, but and this new trainer to us, Valdez Cabral, that won last night. He has a really good record. That's helped add depth to the racing.
Yeah, it's amazing how many high percentage trainers we have now.
Yeah.
Trainers that consistently win 15 to 22% of their starters. We must have, 10 of them.
Yeah. We had another Carrie Craddock win last night as well. She's a high percentage. Okay. 9 races. We start right out with a big field of 2-year-olds. Sometimes our 2-year-old fields are a little more select. This one's big. Opening race. Maiden special weight 2-year-old fillies. I really like this race. I really like a filly in here, and I'll tell you the story in a minute. 5/8 of a mile. Scratch the 13 Hidden Map. She's in a tough spot tomorrow if she goes. She's facing boys tomorrow. I actually thought she had a better shot in here, but she's on the also eligible list, didn't get in.
Yeah, this is a really good race. I noticed the 2-year-old race for Friday working on the line is a full field of 12 also. So finally the babies were into June, and, now they're ready. And that's great news. People love, baby races. This race, a little stunning, 1-9 on Diodoro. Not that that's a shock. He wins with firsters, and he's good with them. I just saw this filly's gate work on June 1st. And I thought it was just decent, So obviously I did not think she was good enough based on that one breeze to beat this field. I think it's pretty nice. I went with the 3 Via. Certainly bred to be fast. The trainer Gellner had a unraced 2-year-old earlier this meet. More Force, who was easily the most impressive 2-year-old debut winner I've seen in maybe a couple seasons. It was that impressive. Via worked with More Force head-and-head on May 24th, the 49-2. Very impressive. Then came back with a stablemate and dusted that one on June 1st and 48-1. So 2 really fast gate works for this 2-year-old filly. Floyd Wethy, Gellner, they're really a good combination. So based on workouts, win early pedigree, top connections with 2-year-olds. I thought Via just working so well with More Force. Maybe she's the one to beat in here. But there's a lot of places to go.
Yeah, I should have used Via. I don't have the access to the information you do about who she was working with. If I had known some of that, I probably would have included her in the picks for sure. But I really like Helene's Power. I don't love the 12-hole going 5/8. But this is a direct quote. I went back and rewatched this race. I finished my call of Helene's Power's race on May 18th with watch her for next time. And that's a little signal to the listeners and myself. I will only do that a couple of times a meet. The winner that day, I Love Mangoes, was even money, and she was under a drive. I mean, she dusted the field, opened up a long lead, driving to the wires. It's not like she was geared up and slowing down. And this filly closed serious ground against her. I mean, legitimate ground. She wasn't going to beat her. But that, to me, was a very impressive debut. Her dam, Oriole, was nothing on the track, but she did bring $475,000 at a yearling sale. And the second dam, Oriole's mother, Free as a Bird, made $606,000 and was a multiple stakes winner. So, and being by a champion and Improbable, I don't know a lot about Improbable's prowess as a stallion, but he made $2.7 million for Baffert and was a champion older horse just a few years ago. So I'm going to take her, and I kind of like her in this spot. We'll see. You make a good case for your filly. I made a couple of other kind of connections picks, mainly in here.
And I had a couple workout notes looking mighty fine for Asmussen. Certainly bred to be, fast. Work best in company, which usually Steve's horses work head and head. This one was better of the two. Turn time of 24-2, which is really good. And then I just thought I'd mention Gustafson, who's pretty slick sometimes, and the fact that Vasquez is aboard, that's what should draw your attention if you don't come out here often. Yeah. Shidoni. I mean, Ramon Vasquez. It's every time he gets on a horse, it's really live. And again, this is a connections pick more than a looks pick, but because the horse has been in Kentucky for most of her debut preparations.
Yeah, and she comes from that line of Red Thread, who was her second dam. Red Thread produced all kinds of really fast horses. Calhoun used to train a lot of them. Cat's Infatuation, in fact, made over 100,000. That female line's very strong, and I think Shidoni could be really quick. I mean, some of those works indicate that she could be fast.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah, really good race to start off the day.
It's one of the best 2-year-old races I can recall. And by the way, Diodoro's horse that got that early big bet trained for a while at DXD. I had to look it up. Dixie Downs, St. George, Utah.
Oh, wow.
So, assume that's
heard
accurate. I think they run I know they run non-parimutuel races there. If it wasn't another case of misidentification, then she started her training in Utah, which is odd.
Yeah, that is a little bit odd.
Because she's not a Utah bred, like a lot of quarter horses, for example. On to the second. A lot of stretch outs in here. 1 mile, $10,000 beaten claimers, all older horses in here. And we got some stretching out horses, and you're on one, I'm on another. Well, you almost have to take a stretch outer in here. They're almost all coming out of sprints, at least the contenders.
Yeah, no big favorite in this spot. I did go with the one B minor for Diodoro. Ramon Vasquez is aboard. I like that. Had been on the bench for 4 months when arrived at Lone Star going 6 1/2 furlongs, and this horse got caught up in really fast fractions and tired inside that final furlong. That was his first start, in blinkers, and obviously it had him, pretty keyed up. If you look, he's going a mile today, but you can see, at the bottom of your PPs last year at 1 1/8 miles, he was very competitive. Yeah. So I don't think the 1 mile is going to be a factor whatsoever. I just feel like he's legged up. He's tight off that sprint race. And I love the fact that, Vasquez stays aboard after a race that some people might think was a big disappointment. But, again, the pace was very fast, and I think that was a perfect race to set him up to go right to the front at this 1 mile distance.
Yeah. Very competitive race. If you look all the way down to that 9 furlong race that B Minor had in February of last year, Harlow Cap, the winner of that, used to be a really good stakes horse. In fact, he ran a second by a Zop in our Texas Derby a couple of years ago and was on the Triple Crown trail. He won a Triple Crown early prep race in New Orleans a couple of years ago, as if I recall, or at least he ran well in it. I took Nick's Story. I told you the story the last time this horse run a couple of weeks ago that he fell over in his race at Oaklawn, 2 back. He was just kind of mid-pack, first-time blinkers, running along, bang, he just fell right down. Got back up, caused a little mini spill, got back up, walked off the track. Then went on this vigorous workout campaign for Abel Ramirez Rodriguez, probably to make sure he was good to go, and came out and ran a 70 buyer, ran pretty well here sprinting on June 1st. Axton is very sharp right now and was a heavy favorite in that race. So I'm going to take Nick's Story on the stretch out and hope for the best. I mean, he has run second at this distance at one point in the past. It's way before the PPs, or it's before the PPs.
Yeah, an ethical judgment. That's a big drop in class for Asmussen. The 2-horse draws a good inside post position. Took over the lead in a $25,000 claimer in mid-stretch and faded to be 4th. This is the type of drop I would consider, since Steve owns the horse too, is a drop to get in that winner's circle.
Yeah, he's a very likely candidate to win. It seems like he's kind of forgotten how to win. I mean, it's been a while since his last win. I also think Mastering for Greg Green is somebody to watch. He has some 2023 form that would drown this group, but obviously he's not that anymore. But his comeback race was nothing to speak of, but he has some past form that's pretty good, and he picks up Cabrera today.
Yeah.
Race 3. Boy, this is a tough one. I don't really like my pick in here. I'm going to be honest with you. But there are a lot of the two contenders in here love to run second. I mean, that's all you can say about Gracie's Kitten and Tap's Mistress, that they just love, and they find new ways to run second, especially Gracie's Kitten. Scratch number 7,000 Angels, Texas bred, filly mare allowance, going a mile on the turf. I kind of like your pick. I probably should have used her in the pick somewhere because she shows some good mile form. I took Tap's Mistress, who ran a nice race 2 races ago, but it was, her 0 for 13 maiden-breaking win, so I don't know. But tell us about tell us about the Midshipman's Lady, because somehow I think she is a good idea in here.
Yeah, she's going to have to, figure out there's others in here with speed like Tap's Mistress, so and bring on the bubbly. I mean, Midshipman's Lady has a tendency to get to the front at the 8th pole, 16th pole, and then, I don't know.
I think the race is over, maybe.
Yeah, sometimes they just wait on horses. I mean, it's amazing sometimes, but, this horse has the lead into deep stretch in 3 consecutive races, narrowly beaten in each. If you just look at the 1-mile races, those were extremely tough beats. One at Houston in February, one here, on April 18th. I really like that they wanted, when you had a chance to draw in, and they wanted in, so I like that. The trainer, I didn't know much about him coming in, Jerry Gourneau.
He used to train at Cinnaboya.
Okay.
When Witt used to send horses to Canada, which he did every year, they'd go from whoever was training for him here. Gourneau would always take over the training in Winnipeg.
Okay.
And now it appears since Houston, he's come down here and left Assiniboia.
Yeah, he's had some nice wins, and his horses, they're being competitive. He's got a really nice in the money percentage, so his horses are running really well. I just like the fact from the 11th hole, that's not going to matter much. He'll be the last one in, and he's so quick. Don't worry about the 11 post position. He'll be on the lead, or he'll be right near the lead, stalking either Tap's Mistress, or he'll make the lead on his own. So, I'm going to take her to go coast to coast this time.
A decent chance of that. Gourneau's other horse, Bring on the Bubbly, is going to be ridden by Ramon Vasquez, because Reyes's first call was Midshipman's Lady. So she gets in, and he takes her, and Vasquez will ride Bring on the Bubbly. Gracie's Kitten, I'm sure, will take a lot of money, but I've caught her act too many times.
Yeah, I think I picked her last time. I gave her one more chance.
Yeah. She'll find a field she can beat one of these days, and I'm going to talk her into the winner's circle for sure one of these days. On to the 4th. Another tough call. This is a tough call for me, maybe not for everybody. It seems like everybody in here wants to lead, which figures. It's a 5.5 furlong sprint. No scratches, allowance event for 3-year-olds and up, non-winners of 2 races other than or non-winners of 3.
Yeah, the tricky horse was Second ID.
Yeah, and that's who I took.
Okay. Well, it makes sense to me. The horse, as a 3-year-old was really good in 2 starts at Gulfstream, for Saffie Joseph, so you're never going to move one up off of Saffie Joseph. Right. The horse has been off for 2 years, but training really fast for Bob Young in the mornings. There's nothing for me to say negatively. Usually when a horse is off this long, I make the horse, 10, 12 to 1. But in this case, the works are really good, and the horse has already shown he's plenty good enough to win.
Buyers kind of jump out
they jump out at you.
Even if they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, they jump out. So I went with Classic Moment. I love the stable, the Ramirez Rodriguez stable. And talk about a 6-year-old who likes to win races.
Yeah.
I mean, won 4 of his last 5. Last time out, he gutted out a win at 6 1/2 furlongs. He'll probably really appreciate, cutting back to 5 1/2 furlongs. And he keeps Vasquez, so he can win when he's just off the pace, but he'll be very close. Turning for home. Usually, you have no excuses if you like Classic Moment. He's going to win, or he'll have no excuse loss.
I liked him enough 2 races ago that I stupidly picked him instead of Too Much Action, which was one of the worst picks of the year. I've been on this guy's bandwagon. I'm picking him second today. He's very sharp. The barn's done a great job with him. His last race was very gutsy. I just wonder how often they can go to the well with him. I think it is a big benefit that he's shortening up. That was a demanding race just 13 days ago.
It was.
But, I mean, he's really good. But I'm going to take Second ID. One thing about Second ID, it's not like he's just been in a field by himself for 2 years. I looked at his lifetime workouts on, I think, 3, maybe 4 occasions, counting this year. They have ramped him up to a race and then had to back off. In fact, he didn't even go to the shelf immediately after that last race 2 years ago in July. He worked and worked and worked, and then in August they stopped on him. Then a few months later, work. Again, fast works, and they stopped. Then there was a long layoff. Then he came back in 25, work, but they didn't get him into a race at Houston. I don't know what to make of that, but, you know, if he's right, he could be good enough. I'm just hoping to get a decent price on him. Tizza Bling is intriguing, too. A 3-year-old, first time against older. He's another one that likes to be forwardly placed. His Beyer figs put him in there with these. I mean, maybe not quite at the Classic Moment level, but I got Tizza Bling thirds to see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, he is 3, so some of those Beyers were, you know, just turning 3 off his 2-year-old campaign, and who's to say? He's a Texas bred stake winner.
He's been pretty good this year.
No, he's been good.
Second sprint,
D reminds me of Amos Moses, who ran once in his life. Scott Young had him ready as a 2-year-old, stopped on him, had him ready as a 3-year-old. Blazing work, stopped on him, brought him here as a 4-year-old. He was a late scratch at the gate. Finally got him in. He won for fun. This horse was working, so and then we never saw him again. But my point is, Second ID has been kind of like that then.
Yeah.
You know, where you think he's ready to go, and then he has a setback.
Yeah. We'll see. Classic Moments definitely, I think, a little bit safer pick there, but a logical one as well because he's so sharp.
If you're betting a show parlay,
exactly.
He's a smarter bet.
Exactly.
But betting to win, we don't know.
We'll see. Pick 5 starts with the 5th race, $307,000 carryover, scratch number 32222. That leaves field of 10 non-winners of 2 claimers.
Yeah, there's some things to really like. I like this 9 Eligio for Cappellucci. Admittedly, he spots horses where they can win, so I do pick him, more than I would have thought I would. You got Ramon Vasquez aboard for this horse's first start since March. That's very much a positive considering this jockey-trainer combination. They win at 50%. So, obviously, when Cappellucci has a live one, he'd love to get Vasquez on. He gets him aboard here, too. If you look, this is first time running for Cappellucci, and if you look at the previous 2 trainers, they're both 5% trainers, So, to me, at least, that's a good positive barn change. And the works here at Lone Star Park are very good, telling me that maybe Cappellucci's found something about this horse that the others, haven't. He did win a maiden special weight race, admittedly, at Sunland, but, again, it wasn't in for a tag. And then, that last race was an allowance race and was beaten only a length and a half. But I actually picked this horse for what I think he'll do today. It has very little to do what he's done in the past because I sense that this horse is going to run the best race he's run to date.
I agree. I'm on him, too. He was a career maiden in Southern California. He gets to Sunland, gets a little confidence, gets now into what's probably, and I don't know these other trainers, but seems to be the best outfit he's ever been in. So, I think it's all systems go for him. A couple of the others, Covet, lightly raced, gets back on dirt. Looks like he's mainly a turfer, but I threw him in there for second, and you did too. He seems good right now. And the rest of the pickings in here, Or Mine, I was on his bandwagon a couple of races ago. He's another one that, seems to kind of shy away from winning. Priority Lane turns back.
Copper Storm easily has the best figs in the race.
Yeah.
It's interesting, a claim from Asmussen by Gustafson. Gustafson's claim numbers are never good. I don't understand that. He's a good trainer. I don't understand why he doesn't win more with first time off the claim.
Right.
That seems like his one chink in his armor is he doesn't win first off the claim. Again, surprises me because he's a really good horseman.
Yeah, for sure. Race 6. 5 ace on the turf, an optional claimer. You can be in for $30,000. You can also be a non-winner of 2 other than, or you can be a non-winner of 3 lifetime. I'm going off the board with an unusual pick here, and you are going with not an off-the-board pick in Spitesville, but a horse coming back off a layoff. There's an interesting story with Spitesville because, he had a pretty long run there with C.R. Trout.
He did.
Now
yeah.
all of a sudden, he was obviously purchased privately at some point.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He had to be purchased privately.
And he's been off a while, but now he comes back, and here we go.
And he loves this turf course. I mean, that's something to like. He loves to sprint, and he loves to sprint at Lone Star Park. So, that's plenty enough reason for me to pick the horse. And I've seen the horse's last two breezes, which doesn't hurt because he looks like he's sharp right now. That last work, June 7th, the fastest 5/8 work of the meet. Remember, this race is only at 5 furlongs, so that's perfect. David Cabrera, who, let's admit, Castellano, he doesn't have the high dollar owner, so, his win percentage is, usually in that 8% year to year. It's 19% when he puts Cabrera aboard, and that's something you've got to realize, if you're more of a novice handicapper, there's a reason why certain jockey-trainer combinations win at a higher rate, and that's because when a trainer has a horse he thinks he's sitting on a win, he wants the best rider he can get. And Castellanos obviously thinks Cabrera's the best way to go when he has a horse sitting on a big effort, and, to me, that gives him the nod in what I think is a very competitive race.
I agree. The morning line favorite is a lofty 3-1, indicating obviously it's a very wide open race. Available Star comes out of the Chamberlain Bridge, which was a really good race on a yielding turf course on Memorial Day, and he did okay. I mean, he's not usually quite as far back as he was that day, but this Go Sugar, I think was the horse's name, just absolutely went out and just blazed a trail. Set a really fast pace, and he found himself 11 lengths back, closed some ground, really had no excuse, but now he's back at a much better level. I say all that because we both picked him second. We're both trying to beat him, and I think he'll be a decent priced favorite, not a short price. I took Braun and Brow, not just because I love the name as an NBA fan, but Braun and Brow claimed away from Asmussen by Abel Ramirez Rodriguez for End Zone Athletics. This horse has had a very long run on the main track. It seems like he's mainly a dirt horse. But if you go way back, he does have a third on the turf. I looked that race up. It was the Costa Rising Stakes at the Fairgrounds back in 2023, just before the PPs kick in here. He ran fourth, moved up to third after a DQ. He was with Mark Casse back then. He ran a couple times on the turf, wasn't disgraced. He used to be a Louisiana Stakes horse. He can certainly sprint. He's kind of an off-the-pace sprinter. I'm going to take a shot. I thought his last race was pretty good before he was claimed. So I'm going to take a shot. It's mainly I want to try to get Vasquez and End Zone Athletics at somewhere around 12-1. It's kind of a odds and connections pick.
Yeah, that's a gutsy claim for Abel, but he's really good. I mean, this horse has only had Mark Casse, Norm Casse, and Steve Asmussen.
Yeah,
so
pretty good trainers. And now the Abel Ramirez Rodriguez barn.
Yeah, that's four good trainers.
Which is pushing at the. I think he is the leading trainer now.
Yeah,
for this
I'm a big fan of Abel. Actually, he does a tremendous job.
That outfit wins lots of races.
Sure do.
Race 7. All older horses in this one, 5.5 furlongs. These are $5,000 beaten claimers or conditioned claimers. Scratch the 3, Reckless Red.
Yeah, and I always feel better when a horse takes a big drop in class like the 11. It makes sense when the trainer is the owner. You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. Just look in the mirror, and there he is. This horse is exceptional early speed. He's been running at 6, 7, 8 of a mile recently. Shows good early speed. 12 wins in 45 starts. That's excellent. 3 wins here at Lone Star Park in 9 starts. Never been close to this class level. Recent works, show you that the horse is doing well. This isn't a drop in class, where you see a bunch of 52 and 4s. The horse is doing well. Cabrera takes the return call. I just feel like at this distance, at this class level, he's the one to beat. He is 10 years old. That's another thing. Sean's probably thinking, is someone going to claim a 10-year-old off of me? How are they going to move one up off of me? I'm Sean Davis. So anyway, I think he's the way to go.
I agree. You know, he's an old class horse. He used to run in the upper echelon of our local stakes sprints. Now he's working for 5,000. I think it's important to point out, and I don't want to overdo this, but it's worth pointing out that he not only is dropping, but he's dropping off a couple of races where he was entered and early scratched. Not late scratch like on the racetrack for lameness or whatever. Just Davis had him in a $25,000 beaten claiming race on May 24th, scratched him early, or the vet did technically. Had him in an allowance optional claiming $20,000 race on June 1st, again an early scratch. And he's dropping off those scratches also. He's not just dropping off that April 26th race. That concerns me a little bit. You know, they had him in these tougher races and maybe a little setback or something, and they thought, no, let's wait. Now he puts him in for 5. But I took him as well. Some of the others we might look at. Sir Ruckus is a long shot, 10-1 on the line, coming back off a little layoff, has never raced here. But I'd give him a look.
Yeah. Imperial Hornet, it's interesting you picked him fourth because we talk about this a lot. Capiloucci, 50% off the claim, and I picked him a couple times early in the year, and you were like, "That's not high enough for me." You tried to beat Capiloucci, and here we are being silly.
Yeah.
50%. I mean, we could never pick 50% winners, and we're going against a guy who is so good off the claim.
The thing that scared me off is he hasn't worked him. He takes the blinkers off. He's had him for pushing 2 months, and he's never worked him. Now, Capiloucci, he knows he's forgotten more than I'll know, but that scared me a little bit. I threw him in there. I think He's a Rock is an Oklahoma bred that's worth a little look. He got sharp at Will Rogers. Behind it makes sense. It's pretty much a toss-up. You got an Asmussen in there. But on to the 8th. Good group in here. You can be in for 40,000, or you can be a non-winner of 4, or you can be non-winners of a race other than scratch the 11 Battle Strike from race 8.
Yeah, this is a toughie. The morning line odds once again reflected. This was tough to set the odds for these horses because it's that competitive. I went with the 2 Without a Trace. Never worse than second at Lone Star Park in 4 starts. 2 wins, 2 seconds. Last time out was on turf. Ran a terrific race, run down late by Illustrator. If you look at the previous race at a similar condition as today, a close second. Was I going down through his PPs when he was in good form? He won back-to-back races here at Lone Star Park, then entered in the Governor Cup at Remington and ran a heck of a race, beaten only ahead by Unload. You know, obviously, if he can get back to that form, he's going to win this race more than likely. But I think that, turf race, going back to what is his best surface, likes to win races. I mean, he's won 5 out of 10 on a fast track. Yeah. So Without a Trace, good inside post position. There's a lot of things to like. Karen Jacks is having another good season here, so,
Yeah.
But a tough race. I would never talk someone off a horse they like in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, her numbers in a really, really small sample size. She's 1 for 4, bringing back on a week's rest. And this guy raced here on a week ago today. In that race, I disagree with the comment, no rally. He actually made a giant rally to go from 9th to 4th at the quarter pole, was only a little more than a length off the lead, and then flattened out. And Ocelot made that final deficit look deceiving because Ocelot just rebroke, got racing room, and just ran away and hid in the stretch. So he made up a lot of ground, flattened out, but the winner blew everybody out of the water the last eighth of a mile.
Sure did.
That's going to make all those finishing margins look distorted. And that was a really good race with Carly's Dream and Savaco, who's been very sharp. Without a Trace makes a lot of sense. Not really sure why I put him down there 4th. I went with Hayes Strike, who I believe you picked when he won the Derby here, Texas Derby 2 years ago. He won it by a zop at a nice price, and I believe you had him. I think his A-race wins this one. Who knows if he's up to his A-race today. I mean, 2 races back at Oaklawn. as a long shot. He runs a 95, follows that up, with a 73, and kind of a lackluster performance where he was off slow. His body of work, even as recently as last year, was against much better. I'm going to take a shot off a little mini 2-month layoff on him. And I think Asmussen could be tough here with how did he do that? Had a comeback race at Oaklawn that was, let's face it, he was in a sprint against Skelly, his stablemate. And, I'm surprised he was 8-1, even though it was a 5-horse field. And obviously stopped to a walk. But it's hard to believe he could have been able to warm any of those sprinters up because he's not a sprinter.
Yeah, and Sarah Shaman has, I think, the best last race buyer off that really sharp optional claiming win, May 26th. So I want to throw,
he's been very good.
Him in there. Yeah, he's gotten real good the last 3 starts.
It shows you how tough that race is that I didn't work him into the picks. And I kind of feel bad about it. Same with Gold Pilot, who loves this racetrack.
Yeah, really does.
Good field. Last race. We both have the same top pick, so we probably don't need to dwell on this since it is 102. High 5 carryover, 1-day carryover of $296. Maidens, fillies and mares, 3 and up, at a mile on the lawn. Scratch the 11, Buzzworthy.
Yeah, and the run rate, I guess we both have 7-5. Obviously, first time turf was March 22nd in Houston, beaten a neck by a horse that came back to win right back, and then finished second in a race washed off the turf on April 20th here at Lone Star Park. A few recent breezes after that just to maintain her fitness. Now back on what certainly appears to be her best surface, and she's in such good form for Asmussen. And, this is a field where I didn't think there were a lot of options, so I think she warrants 7-5.
I think she's a really good option in here. I disagree that she hung last time. That's a very pejorative term. I think it's overused and kind of dated. I don't write charts. When I do chart, I'm doing the race, the margin calls and the other information, not the writing. But I didn't think she hung at all in that Violet Kitten race. I thought she ran really, really well and gamely to the wire. And Sugarcoat, who was third in that race, came back and ran super. As far as some of the others, Cruel to me was kind of an obvious second pick. Another gun runner, made up tons of ground last time, had a very adventurous stretch drive. She was, if I remember right, way outside, and then Vasquez had a swooper inside and came up and just missed a Wonder Wave. Balmorhea, another one that I think, has been improving on the turf. There's some, Jaden Clary's horse, Ritzy Mischief, puts blinkers on off a really fast half-mile breeze.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be scared off Cruel because of the maiden 20. I mean, Ashford tried this horse on the filly, for the first time, going long, going turf. I doubt he thought she'd run that good.
Balmorhea, you mean?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Cruel, who was in a maiden 20.
Yeah. Ashford,
so he put her in that. He probably had no clue she was going to run like that on grass. So, of course, after an effort like that, he's like, oh, man, I might have a decent turf filly here.
So he moves
her up. So I don't consider that like he gave up on her, running her in the maiden 20.
Right.
I think he was pleasantly surprised. So, I like her as well to run really well today.
Yeah. That's an interesting race. For our pick's sake, I hope run rate, if those last 2 race figs hold up, she is the best.
Yeah, we got a lot of different picks today,
do.
Which is indicative of a day like today when it's very competitive.
All right. Well, we'll do it all again tomorrow. Father's Day. Happy Father's Day in advance.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for joining us here today. First post time in 30 minutes. Good luck.
In the event of an emergency, Lone Star Park is dedicated to ensuring the safety of our patrons.